there's a man yelling at the grocery store clerk. He's red in the face, spit gathering at the corners of his mouth, lecturing her on inflation. Something about gas prices. Something about back when I was a kid. He doesn't pause to ask questions. He doesn't check if what he's saying is true. He just keeps going. The people around him grow quiet. No one interrupts. Not because they agree, but because it's easier to let noise pass than to stop it. A woman nearby knows the numbers. She works in economics. She understands supply chains. But she says nothing. She's done this before. She's seen what happens when facts meet volume. No one wins. In meetings, in classrooms, in town halls, it's the same pattern. The ones who've read, studied, questioned, they hesitate. They weigh their words. They leave room for complexity. And the ones who know the least, they don't pause. They don't blink. They fill the room. There's a strange comfort in certainty. It doesn't matter if it's earned, so the rest of us start to wonder, does being right even matter anymore? And maybe deeper than that, why does ignorance speak with so much confidence and get away with it? It's not just a few loudmouths. It's a pattern, a predictable one. The person who knows almost nothing about the issue is often the one speaking the longest, the fastest, and with the most certainty. Meanwhile, the person with actual knowledge sits quietly watching it unfold. You've seen it in meetings, at family dinners, online, especially online. A stranger types in all caps, tossing out half-baked claims with full conviction. They don't hedge. They don't question themselves. They act like being loud makes them right. And the dangerous part? It works. People mistake confidence for competence. They assume certainty means truth. The louder someone speaks, the more others lean in. Not because it's smart, but because it's simple. Smart people hesitate. They've seen too much to be sure of everything. They know the world is messy, so they pause before speaking. They don't like being wrong. They don't like misleading others. But that caution reads as weakness. In a room full of opinions, silence gets ignored. So the system rewards the opposite of wisdom. Confidence rises, doubt sinks, and slowly we stop hearing from the people who've actually done the work. The question is, how did we get to a place where noise beats knowledge? Why do we reward boldness over accuracy? And why is it so easy for ignorance to take center stage, while the truth sits in the back row? Let's make a few things clear before we move forward. Dumb doesn't mean low IQ. We're not talking about mental capacity. We're talking about willful ignorance, the kind that chooses confidence over curiosity. People who stop learning, stop asking, and start performing. Opinions in this context aren't careful thoughts. They're untested claims dressed up as fact, the kind that shut down conversation instead of opening it up. They sound like truth, but they're built on shaky ground. Loud doesn't always mean volume. It's not just shouting, it's the refusal to stop talking. It's taking up space, demanding attention, and treating certainty like a weapon. Loud opinions push others out, not by logic but by force. And no, this isn't about free speech or silencing people. It's about patterns of behavior. How some people dominate conversations not because they're right, but because they never stop talking. This isn't about disagreement, it's about how confidence gets rewarded, even when it's divorced from reality. This piece isn't here to mock anyone. It's here to ask why we keep mistaking volume for value, and how that mistake shapes everything from politics to public trust. This didn't start with the internet, it started much earlier. Ancient philosophers noticed it. Socrates, for example, said he was wise only because he knew what he didn't know. In contrast, he pointed to people who spoke with certainty but lacked depth. His method, asking questions, not giving answers, was seen as threatening. And eventually it got him killed. Fast forward to the printing press. For the first time, ideas could spread far and fast. But not all ideas were grounded in fact. Some were simply louder. Pamphlets with bold claims outpaced slow, careful arguments. The written word became a battleground. Those who could simplify and stir emotion often won. In the 20th century, radio and TV took it further. Politicians learned quickly. A strong voice and a clear message beat a nuanced explanation. Confidence became currency. Hesitation looked like weakness. Debates weren't won on truth, they were won on delivery. Then came the internet, and with it, social media. Now everyone has a megaphone. Not just leaders or writers, but anyone, anywhere. And what gets rewarded? Not depth, not restraint. Algorithms reward engagement. Engagement comes from emotion. And nothing sparks emotion like certainty. People with bold claims, hot takes, or viral anger rise to the top. Not because they're right, but because they're loud, clear, and fast. Careful thinkers, they move slower. They weigh things, they get drowned out. And so, the cycle reinforces itself. This is how we got here. Certainty outperforms doubt. Speed outpaces thought. Confidence overshadows knowledge. We built a system that favors volume over truth, and now we live inside it. Strip it down, and this isn't just about bad takes or loud mouths. It's about something deeper. Survival. We're wired to seek clarity. Uncertainty feels like danger. In the wild, hesitation could get you killed. Confidence, even if wrong, signals strength. And in a group, people tend to follow whoever looks most sure of themselves. This makes sense in tribal life. You don't want a leader who second-guesses every step when there's a predator nearby. You want someone who says, "We move now," and takes charge. That bias is still in us, and so in modern life we lean toward voices that sound certain, even when they're bluffing. Then there's identity. People want to feel smart, capable, in control. That's harder when you admit you don't know something. But having an opinion, even a loud and wrong one, gives a sense of power. It fills the silence that ignorance leaves behind. Add status to the mix. In every social group, we track who gets heard. Loud people get attention. Attention brings influence. So if being loud earns status, more people will speak up. Not to share knowledge, but to be seen. And don't forget belonging. Tribal loyalty runs deep. Sometimes opinions aren't about truth at all, they're signals. Saying the right thing tells others you're part of the group. Doubt makes you look disloyal. Silence can get you pushed out. So we talk, we overstate, we play confident even when unsure. Not always because we're dumb, but because we're human. Your brain doesn't care about being right, it cares about feeling right. That's the first problem. We're built for fast thinking. Daniel Kahneman calls it System 1, the part of the brain that jumps to conclusions, spots patterns, and reacts on instinct. It's useful when you need to act quickly, but it's terrible at checking facts. Slow thinking, System 2, takes effort. It's the part that questions itself, analyzes details, and admits uncertainty. Most people don't use it unless they're forced to. And if fast thinking gives us the answer we want, we stop there. That's how opinions form. Not from deep analysis, but from gut reactions. Then there's confirmation bias. Once we believe something, we look for anything that proves it. We ignore what doesn't. It feels better to be consistent than correct. So loud opinions grow louder, not because they're tested, but because they're reinforced. There's also the Dunning-Kruger effect. People with low skill often overrate themselves. They don't know what they don't know, so they assume they know enough. That false confidence pushes them to speak up, while experts hold back, aware of the gaps in their knowledge. Emotion fuels all of this. Anger, fear, pride, they're shortcuts. They shut down slow thinking. And once emotion kicks in, people aren't reasoning anymore. They're defending their identity. This is why loud, wrong opinions survive. They feel true. They sound certain. They don't require effort, and the more emotion involved, the harder it is to break through. In this culture, volume gets rewarded everywhere. In school, kids learn early. Raise your hand, speak fast, sound sure. Teachers prefer clean answers, not complex questions. Students who pause to think are called slow. Those who talk first are seen as smart, even if they're bluffing. At work, it's worse. Meetings favor the assertive. Bosses notice the loud ones. If you speak with confidence, even when you're wrong, you're called a leader. If you hesitate, you're called unsure. The media plays into it. Cable news thrives on hot takes. Talk shows reward speed and emotion, not accuracy. Social media goes even further. It pushes the most extreme voices to the top. Not because they're right, but because they get clicks. And algorithms don't care about truth. They care about attention. A false but fiery opinion spreads faster than a careful explanation. That's not a glitch. That's the system working as designed. Family culture plays a role too. In some homes, questioning elders is seen as disrespect. So loud, unchallenged opinions become tradition. In others, silence means safety. You don't speak unless you're certain, and by then, the moment has passed. Religion, politics, and nationalism all carry ready-made answers. They don't encourage doubt. They teach allegiance. If you ask the wrong questions, you're labeled. If you go quiet, you're forgotten. So the culture teaches one lesson over and over. Don't think. Performance. Be loud, be quick, be sure. Even if you're wrong. We claim to value truth, but reward confidence. We say, do your own research, but mock the people who actually read. We say, speak your mind, but only listen if it's fast, sharp, and easy to digest. We build schools that test memory, not thinking. Workplaces that reward bold talk, not deep skill. Media that spreads outrage, then blames the audience. We tell kids to be curious, then scold them for asking hard questions. We say we want honesty, but punish hesitation. We make jokes about people being too smart for their own good, while giving microphones to people who never learn to listen. And here's the core contradiction. The more you know, the less certain you become. The less you know, the easier it is to act like you're sure. But the world isn't simple, and the truth doesn't shout. So we live in a strange place, where the most visible voices often know the least, and the people who understand the stakes are too worn out to argue. That's not a glitch. That's the cost of a culture built on performance. This isn't just annoying, it's dangerous. In public health, loud misinformation spreads faster than verified science. During COVID, false claims traveled quicker than facts, costing lives. People trusted loud voices on YouTube more than quiet experts in labs. In politics, the same pattern holds. Candidates who speak in sound bites and certainty get attention. Voters respond more to tone than truth. Policy becomes theater. Debate becomes a shouting match. And leadership gets reduced to who can talk over whom. In workplaces, unqualified voices shape decisions. Smart employees stay quiet in meetings. Loud, wrong ideas go unchallenged. Projects fail, but no one talks about how silence let bad plans through. Online, it's worse. Social platforms reward rage and simplicity. Long-form thought gets ignored. Nuance dies in comment sections. People pick sides not because they've studied the issue, but because someone loud told them what to think. And at home, it leaks in. Families repeat headlines without checking them. Arguments flare up. Conversations break down. Nobody's listening. Everyone's performing. So the loudest voice wins. And the truth keeps shrinking. You don't need to be loud to be heard, but you do need to change how you show up. Start here. Don't confuse silence with weakness. Pause before speaking. Ask if you actually understand what you're about to say. That pause earns trust over time. It separates you from the noise. Watch for false confidence. Just because someone sounds sure doesn't mean they're right. Ask simple questions. How do you know that? Or where did you hear it? If the answer is vague or defensive, that's a red flag. Create space for better voices. If you lead meetings or conversations, notice who isn't speaking. Invite them in, not by forcing them, but by slowing things down. Give thinking a chance to catch up to noise. Train your brain to sit with doubt. You won't always have an answer. That's okay. The goal isn't to win the moment, it's to protect the truth. Learn to say, I'm not sure yet. That's a stronger position than pretending. We don't need more noise. We need more people willing to hold the line, even when the loud ones take the spotlight. Back in that store, the man's still talking, still pointing, still sure. The economist nearby picks up her groceries and walks out. Not because she's weak, but because she knows this isn't a conversation. It's noise, and you don't reason with noise. You outlast it. This isn't about winning arguments, it's about protecting space for real thought, for voices that don't need to shout. The question isn't, how do we shut the loud ones up? It's, how do we make quiet thinking strong again? And maybe more importantly, are you filling space because you have something to say? Or because silence makes you feel small?